It's hard to listen to. All of this is hard to listen to. But then you think about the pain that they're describing, it being shoved in your ear, and then essentially what she's threatening him with is being like mentally handicapped for the rest of his life because something got done up in his head.
Okay. So, Jenna, I'm touching my ear now. Okay. I see what you're saying about this is why you didn't think the Aegeal was big, because it couldn't fit in your ear. I guess I was thinking it wasn't like in my head as I was reading, I was just thinking she pressed it like to his ear. Because I don't like ear touching. You know what I mean? Like, don't touch my ear. So that's why I don't like it. So I just figured anything touching the ear, it could be giant. It would still fuck him up because you touched his ear. But you're right. If it's like in-ear, if we're talking like inner ear, it definitely would have to be smaller.
Which, I mean, props to her because I didn't even have that argument for fitting in his ear. Oh, it's got to be a small, device or thin leather rod. But, yeah, no, that's a really good point. And also, I do want to say, because I love this quote that my father used while we were growing up. Obviously, we weren't beaten. But he would always say, the beatings will continue until morale improves. Perfect.
And Winona, I totally agree that it was a risk for her to put that in the ear because, I mean, later she doesn't do it again because she's worried about it, like, scrambling his brain. If you're worried about... You don't take risks with a brain.
No, you shouldn't. And plus, this is day one. Now, we know Mord Siths go hard, but, I mean, don't risk that. It's day one. What if this had gone wrong and Dark and Rawl can't get the information out of him that he wants?
No, totally. I think it's a dumb thing that she did because she could have fucked it up. Richard could have just been like, and fucked it all up. Aaron, you waited this long to give your opinion, so I don't know if it's valid, first of all. Second of all, I guess at this point, I kind of feel like maybe everyone's right. I just feel like a wand isn't... when I look at a wand, and I'm like, oh, it's a pain stick, I'm like, I guess that's the idea. You guys are like, it's not supposed to be intimidating. So I guess I understand that. I pictured it like a dildo, because I was like a painful dildo, and that's intimidating. I think to anybody, like to man, female, non-binary.
What do you think about this, buddy?
Yeah, you don't want this shoved anywhere, do you? Flopping all over the place. It's not flopping. I know it's...
Flopping.
And drink.
Cheers. But no, I think you're right. I think it's small and it's not intimidating. Like, look at that little thing. Ow, fucking ow.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I think Dark and Raw wanted her to break him, but I feel like if he knew that somebody did something to risk the brain of the Seeker, he probably would have been like, hey, don't do that. That's not okay.
I got to put that on there. Ching, sort of true sound.
Sorry, we're reading your comments. I know that went dead air for a second.
Oh. 2319. So when she's done, she lets him down and she tells him she's going to go to sleep. Tomorrow will be a full day. Yay. So she puts the ring on his collar and around the peg. Richard asked about sleep. And she's like, what do you mean? You are going to stand there all night and wait for me to come back. And that's payback for the vision of him wanting to kill her.
Which was apparently this morning. So that lets you know how long this day was. Because I feel like for me reading it, it felt like the day was a really long time. And, I wasn't even a part of it. Because that was this morning. He was captured in the morning of this day.
Right. Yeah, this is a hell of an afternoon.
Yeah. And she changed the magic so he can't, like, pass out from the pain. He can't just be like, oh, fuck it. I'm just gonna will myself over to it. He'll just lay there alone in pain if the pain comes off. If the pain comes off the peg. If the ring comes off the peg.
Yeah, and we know how that would go because earlier she tried to have him do that. Get to the door.
Yeah.
See if you can do it, and I'm not going to help you. Now, here's a theory. It's just a theory. Do you think she was testing Richard to see if he could? Maybe his brain was strong enough to handle it. Maybe he is a sick, twisted fuck, and he loves pain, and he's like, yeah, bring it on, and just waltzed right out the door. Do you think that was the first test to see if she would be able to just not lock him in that night? Like, the door is open.
I think it was to test him, but also to let him know that, hey, you don't even want to try. Like, it was to test him, but also to prevent him from trying in the future. Because, like, you tried. What are you gonna? You're not gonna try when I'm not here. Because, like, you already tried for 2 hours earlier. It didn't fucking work. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and you're gonna be prevented whether or not I'm here, anyways.
And now I'm guessing that the magic of the pain probably has some type of property to where you can't get, like, used to it. You know what I mean? Because after a certain, like, you become numb to a certain level of pain, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think your tolerance goes up, but I mean, personally, I think with enough pain, you are going to black out. I feel like what happens is you hit that mark, you black out, and the magic snaps you back awake again.
Yeah.
And then you have to repeat the cycle over and over. Jenna just said, no, it doesn't matter how okay with pain you are. Eventually, you would pass out. Like, exactly. I think it would happen.
So you're thinking that, yeah, he would be passing out, but he would just, like, the magic would just wake him back up.
It'd wake his ass back up. He can't black out. Like, physically, your body would. But then the magic would just wake you up again. And once you're up, you have to go through that escalation all over again. Or you just lay there in, like, a hazy shock all night long.
I was kind of thinking that maybe the pain held him at that cusp, like, right before it was enough to pass out. And you're just sitting there, like, I don't know how to describe it, because I could picture it in my brain, but...
You are at 9.9.
Yeah, the whole time.
All night long. Yeah. And that, I mean, that would almost be worse.
It doesn't roll over to 10, knocking you out. It just, like, sits at that, like, steady burn all night.
And I'm assuming there's no clock in the room.
No.
So you are alone with your thoughts.
And no windows either, because he said he's in
Nothing.
pitch dark.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't even be like, hey, moonlight.
Yeah, there ain't no fresh air. It's a dirty, nasty... I'm assuming smelly because of all the blood and bodily fluids all over the ground.
Richard sweat.
But yeah, so there he is. He stands there crying in the dark. And, you know, the only thing he has to make him feel any better is thinking about Kaylin. He's thinking about her. He's thinking about her kiss. And he, you know, through this torture... He's telling himself it doesn't matter what happens to him as long as Kaylin, Zed, and Chase were safe. And they have the box. So, like I was talking about earlier, 30 days. Mm-hmm. 30 days, 1 day at a time. That's literally the only thing you can tell yourself that would also not make the pain get you. Eventually, right. I'm going to die.
The problem is with time... kind of stretching out before you because you don't have a clock. You don't have a calendar. 30 days can feel like 300 real easy.
Right. Oh, 30 minutes could feel like 30 or 300 like you said. And I like what Winona's saying too. She's like, she probably didn't want him to try and do that all night because being at that level all night long, I think would kill you. That's what she's saying. I mean, I agree. Just so I'm clear. So she's like, no, be good, do your best, stand there and deal with it so you don't have to face this torture all night long. Because, yeah, that'd probably kill him.
Yeah. Well, but I also feel like she no matter what she's telling him, she's not going to try and push things too far because she doesn't want to risk killing the Seeker. She needs him.
Right.
He doesn't give a shit because nothing's going to be as painful as Kaylin being with somebody else. He's glad he's going to be dead before then, and he's, thinking maybe he can hurry it along by pissing her off the next day and trying to move when she puts it in his ear. My thing is that I wanted to bring up, Jenna was talking, I think it was in a message to us, about how, like, you get trauma bonded with somebody, kind of. I don't think she used those words, but, like, in intense situations, you become, like, super close to people super fast. And I super agree, and I love Richard, and I don't want people to feel like I don't love Richard and Kaylin's relationship, or feel like they're, like, it's real love or whatever. It just sometimes feels a little juvenile with the way Richard puts things, like, I'm going to die.
Right.
Like, I get it. Like, you're like, oh, I love that person. We've gone through a lot. I know their soul already, even though we've only known each other for 2 weeks. It just, it feels a little bit like a teenager who's like all or nothing. But I totally understand the whole, like, we've been through some shit, and I'm going to go through some shit for her because of that.
Yeah, she's worth it. So the next day, he waits for her to put the Aegil in his ear. Like Jade said, he's going to jerk his head to the side. He is going to damage something inside of himself and render himself useless for Dark and Rawl. But she doesn't do that to him.
Right.
And, I mean, that's another one. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I will try my best to not point out every single one, because I do it too. But, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. I think because we know that she knows what he's picturing in his head, she knew that that was his plan.
Right.
So,
okay.
So she doesn't do it to him, which, I mean, good.
Yeah.
But that does mean that he still goes through an entire day. This was an afternoon. What we had already covered, we're an hour into this episode, and we've covered just an afternoon. The next day, it kind of glazes by. She just doesn't stick it in his ear, but they have an entire, like, training day.
Yes, that was what I was going to say. We have been going for an hour, so this is going to be a longer episode, because we still have a chunk of stuff to go. I think we're going to try to, like, gallop a little bit through the chapter. So hopefully that doesn't bother any of you, because I want to get to the end. Obviously, there's, like, the climax of this whole chapter that we want to get to.
Right.
And also, I really do want to show you guys the other thing that we've prepared for you.
We made a thing.
But okay. Let me... The next night, he has to stand the whole night, and in the morning, Denna's like, give me a kiss. And after he does, he gets to sleep for, like, an hour.
Best fucking sleep he ever had.
But he gets awakened by the Aegil.
This is something Jade and I both struggle with. Aaron has been here for a live episode, so he knows this is a thing, because we get to talking and we completely forget that there's a microphone in front of our face that we're supposed to be talking into. And then all of a sudden we just start having a conversation with each other, and we're like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. We're doing a thing. So.
Al, if we don't have enough beer to last, I have liquor.
At this rate, I doubt it.
Shut up, Aaron.
Is that a challenge? We have 2 whole refrigerators. Granted, one of them is very, very tiny, but I'm not out of beer yet. We are in a quarantine, guys. The Brunies have beer.
So,